Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Tony, and the channel is Tony Talks Cards. And we're talking about 10 cards specifically on this video today. But first off, we want to wish everybody happy July 4th and July 4th weekend. I think this is going to come out on July 4th itself. I'm pre-recording it the week of July 4th to be out that Friday. Hopefully you all have a chance to take some time away from work or other things and rest and relax and celebrate over the weekend. But this is going to be video number 3 in my 1971 Topps Baseball Action Shot Action Pose series. I've got 2 videos already under my belt. We covered about 9, 10, 11 cards. I'll link to the prior first and second videos in the description if you want to take a look at those if you haven't already or seen this series so far. And again, looking at the 1971 Topps Baseball Action Pose Action Shot kind of subset. There's 52 total cards. We're talking about 10 cards in this video. And I tried to figure out of these 52 cards kind of what order to put them in. The last video, I was able to find cards that had 2 players on them or more than 2 players on them and tell stories about the player or players on those cards and how some of those players were actually the same. The same player appeared on 2 different cards. One was his main card, one was in the background or the foreground of some other player's card. So I tried to figure out what are the commonalities or combinations of these 52 cards that could make for interesting content, interesting video content. So video number 3 today is going to have 10 cards. There's going to be 5 New York Yankees players and 5 New York Mets players. I believe, I did this in my second video, I believe the Mets and Yankees were the top 2 teams represented in terms of teams out of these 52 cards. I believe the Yankees and Mets were combined 1/3 of the total players in this subset were Yankees and Mets players. So I thought it's kind of around July 4th and New York, Statue of Liberty, seen as like, a big city in America, very festive, July 4th, Statue of Liberty, all that stuff. Let's do a video on 10 players from the New York teams, and this is going to come out on July 4th. So I'm a Chicago Cubs guy. I love Chicago, but love New York as well, and thought, hey, this is kind of cool. Maybe I'll do the New York Yankees and Mets players, or some of them at least, on this video, episode 3, coming out on July 4th. So hopefully you enjoy a little bit longer of a video, given it's 10 players, not, I think, 5 I did last time. So stick with me and let me know in the comments if you followed any of these players, you had their cards, remembered them, collected them, or maybe I missed out on a cool fact about their playing career, their post-playing career, or maybe a card that you remember collecting or having in your collection from one of these guys that would be cool to do a shout out of or call out in the comments. So thank you again for watching, subscribing, liking. I appreciate it a ton. Again, have a great July 4th weekend. I'll turn the camera around and show you these 10 cards. Be right back. All right, the camera is turned around, and let's look at some 1971 Topps baseball cards. Like I said, we've got 5 Mets and 5 Yankees up today here on July 4th. The first one is for the Mets. We'll do 5 for the Mets, 5 for the Yankees. The first one for the Mets is a left-handed pitcher, none other than Ray Sadecki. Look at that. Cool southpaw, mid-delivery ball, barely coming out of his hand there. The umpire and the catcher in full scene there. So Mr. Ray Sadecki, he played from 1960 to 1977, played with 6 different teams, and played with several of them a couple times over that 18-year time span. The left-hander may have had his best year in 1964 with the Cardinals, where he went 20-11 with a 3.68 ERA, and the Cardinals won the World Series that year. So not a bad way to start your career early on. He was later traded to the San Francisco Giants, and in 67 and 68, he had an under 3.0 ERA, so better than his World Series year with the Cardinals, but only went 24 and 24 in those years. So must have been lower run production with the Giants those 2 years than with the World Series champion Cardinals in 64. He played with the Mets here, as he's shown, from 1970 to 1974, and came back briefly in 1977. With those years with the Mets, he started 61 games over those 5 years, and he was 30 and 24 during that time. He was involved in a trade for Joe Torre in 1974 between the Mets and the Cardinals. And Joe Torre will be up on a future episode of 1971 Topps, as he also has an action pose with the Cardinals in this set too. Overall, he was 135 and 31. And another fun fact about Mr. Sadecki, he did hit his first home run as a pitcher off Gaylord Perry in June 1962. And in 1966, he batted 341 with 3 homers. So not a bad run for a pitcher back in those days. Number 2, another Met, like I said, is Mets pitcher Jim McAndrew. And you can see that cool follow through the right-hander there. I love these pictures with the pitcher in the foreground. Obviously, he's the main point of the picture there. So look at that sea of people. Hundreds of people in the background, nameless faces to some extent. You see the sunglasses, the hat. But there he is focused pitching for the Mets there in his nice home white uniform. So Jim McAndrew pitched from 1968 to 1974, all with the Mets, except for one last year with the Padres. His best year was 1972, where he went 11-8 with a 2.8 ERA. He was a member of the '69 Mets World Series championship team and the 1973 NL pennant winning team as well. He didn't pitch in either '69 or '73 in the Mets World Series games that year, as the Mets relied mostly on Tom Seaver, Jerry Koosman, and other folks ahead of Mr. McAndrew in the lineup. And he actually died only about a year ago here in the Phoenix metro area where I live currently. So that is a little bit about the short career of Jim McAndrew, but again, was on a World Series championship team and an NL pennant winning team too within that short 7-year career. So very cool there. We'll put his card here. Left-hander versus right-hander there. Third for the Mets, we've got Tommy Agee, an outfielder for the Mets. Show you the card. This is one of the horizontal action pose shots from 1973. You can see Tommy Agee there sliding into base. And again, I didn't do the research I probably should have on the team he's playing and who those players could be, but you got 4 people there. You've got the umpire, you've got Tommy Agee, and you've got 2 other infielders there. A very nice, crisp, clean card, a very broad, nice picture there of a game in 1970. Again, Tommy Agee was an outfielder. He played from 1962 to 1973. He began with Cleveland, went to the White Sox, then the Mets, and ended up with Houston and St. Louis as well near the end of his career. He was dealt to the Dodgers at the end of his career, but never made an appearance. Tommy Agee's best years were probably 1969 to 1971, of course, with the Mets. He had 3 years with 20-plus home runs, and his highest hit year was 1970, which would have been on the back of the card, these stats here, where he had 182 hits. So we can see here, it's kind of hard to read, but we do see 182 hits. We see 24 home runs, and the light's not that bad, not that good, and a 286 average. So the stats on the back do show that high hit year of 182 hits. Put that back here and keep talking. He was AL Rookie of the Year in 1966. Let me adjust these a little bit more. Perfect. There we go. AL Rookie of the Year in 1966 with the White Sox. He had 22 home runs and 86 RBI in that year and played in 160 games. He was the first player in their rookie year to get 20 home runs and 40 stolen bases in their rookie season. It looks like he may have either tried to steal or just was coming into one of the bases here on this picture. So first one to do that in the rookie season. In the third game of the 1969 World Series against the Orioles, Agee had what some called the greatest single performance by a center fielder in World Series history. He made 2 catches that were thought to have saved 5 runs against the Baltimore Orioles in that series. He was also posthumously inducted into the Mets Hall of Fame in 2002. So that's Mr. Tommy Agee. I will put these to the side, actually, so we can do a few more cards here. Got 2 Mets left, so I'll leave two stands here. The next Met is listed as an outfielder / first baseman. Is Art Shamsky of the Mets. Look at that picture. I'm pretty sure that's a ball right there. The ball is coming into the frame of the picture. Looks like he's ducking out of the way like it's going to hit him, and the catcher appears to be moving his glove kind of to the right, up to the right to maybe catch a high and inside pitch, potentially in that photo with the umpire, of course, in the back too. So again, why I love these action shots, it's just, you kind of can make up the story of what happened, the ball, the bat, the umpire, the catcher. It's really cool. He played from 1965 to 1972, starting with Cincinnati and then moved to the New York Mets, and then finished with a few different teams, including the Cubs and the Athletics. In 66, he homered in 4 straight at-bats. 3 of them, of the 4, were hit in one game. Even more interesting is that in that one game, he was not the starter, where he hit those 3 home runs straight in 3 straight at-bats. His best years were in the late 60s with the Mets, where he had double-digit home runs in 3 years in a row and managed to hit 300 in the great 1969 year for the Mets. He was a fan favorite in New York and a member of the New York Jewish Sports Hall of Fame and the National Jewish Sports Hall of Fame, too. He and actually other 1969 Mets made an appearance on an episode of Everybody Loves Raymond during that show's run as well. So that is Mr. Art Shamsky there. Put that closer. And the last of the 5 Mets for this episode is Mr. Ken Boswell. Look at that picture, too. You've got him at second base tossing over to first base. You've got the ball kind of right there on the card. You've got a runner sliding. You've got the gates, the middle, the gates in the back there, a bit of the outfield, the infield. Just a really nice picture there. Ken Boswell played from 1967 to 1977, and all with the Mets, except for the last few years with the Astros. Was not an everyday player, and didn't have the highest batting average of his career, because he had only a 248 batting average. His best year, again, was with that 69 Mets team where he hit 279. And similar to others in this series, he had a great year in 69. He did hit his first major league home run off of Don Drysdale, based on my research. And I should say, again, this research is coming from Saber, baseballreference.com, and just some overall internet sleuthing as well. One thing to note, in the 1970 season, he had a .996 fielding percentage as well. So again, 1970 is the season whose stats would be on the back of this. So that .996 fielding percentage was hopefully made better and kept high based on this throw he was making to first base, unless it was certainly during an exhibition game of some sort. So again, that is the back of this card too, Mr. Ken Boswell. So those are the 5 Mets from 1971. There you go. Let's move on to the Yankees. So we got 5 Yankees to follow up 5 Mets. The first one's going to be Mr. Lindy McDaniel. McDaniel played from 1955 to 1975, including 8 years with the Cardinals, 3 with the Cubs, a couple with the Giants, about 6 years with the Yankees, and then 2 years with the Royals. He had 141 wins over his career, with 7 double-digit win seasons, and 4 of those with St. Louis, from 57 to 61. He appeared to be a starter for the first couple years in St. Louis, but then became more of a reliever later in his career. 1960 may have been the best year he had. He was in 65 games, only started 2, but ended up with a 12-4 record and a 2.09 ERA. In 1960, he earned the Sporting News inaugural NL Fireman of the Year honors, while finishing 3rd for the Cy Young, 5th in MVP, and he was the first relief pitcher to receive a vote for the Cy Young in 1960. He had a 13-7 record with the Cubs in 1963, just a few years later, and again earned that same NL Fireman of the Year award. He had a 2.86 ERA in 1963. 10 years later, in 1973, he went 12-6, and again had an exact similar 2.86 ERA to his ERA 10 years earlier. In that 1957 year, he also went and batted .250. He had 19 hits, one home run for the Cardinals in that year. And so far in my series of 1971 Topps Action Poses, he is the player with the oldest rookie year, 1955, earliest starting year in the majors. We've also had Beta Pinson and Chris Short, who also appeared in the 50s, but Lindy McDaniel is the oldest, quote unquote, as of right now in the series. He was also tall, around 6'3", it appears, based on my research. So again, love that picture. Again, the folks in the back are hard to see. You got one single focus of the shot is the pitcher looking in at the catcher, getting the signs, getting ready to pitch. Um, Yankee Stadium, just a really nice card. I love the way this picture was done. So that is Lindy McDaniel, card number 1. Card number 2 for the Yankees is another pitcher, a left-hander. You've got Fritz Peterson, again, a very singular shot of him with some unnamed folks in the background lining the stadium right there. Fritz Peterson's a left-hander pitcher. He played from 1966 to 1976, most with the Yankees, but also ended with the Indians and Rangers. His win-loss record was 133 and 131, so pretty much 50-50. His best year may have been 1970, which again would be the stats in the back of this card, where he was 20 and 11. Yep, 2011 with a 2.90, 2.90 ERA. So not a bad year. 2.91 rounds up to, I guess, in this card right here. So not a bad year in 1970. 1968 to 1972, he had double-digit wins in 5 straight years and one of the most successful left-handed pitchers during that time. From 68 to 70, his ERA was below 3.0 each of those years. He started 101 games during those 3 years and played 112 games from 68 to 1970. And actually, 1970, the year on the back of this card, he had 2 home runs. So a pretty good year for a pitcher, having 2 home runs and a 20 and 11 record too for the Yankees. So that is Fritz Peterson. You can see those 2 guys there. You got a right-hander, a left-hander, kind of bookmarking against each other there in cool singular poses. So I will take them down for here. We got 3 more. The next one is, go to my schedule here, a horizontal card, Mr. Roy White. He was with the Yankees from 65 to 79. He played with Mickey Mantle and Whitey Ford, among others. And at the end of his career, saw the Yankees come back to the top with several World Series wins, and Reggie Jackson being larger than life during those late 70s years as well. He tied 160 home runs, 758 RBI, and a 271 batting average. Fairly consistent daily player from 68 to 77. His best year may have been 1970 again, on the back of this card, those stats, where he had 22 home runs, 94 RBI, and hit 296. He had 180 hits in the 1970 season as well. And there you go, Roy White. Like I said, he won World Series championships with the Yankees in 1977, 1978. He led the AL in fielding percentage for all left fielders for 4 consecutive years, too. In 1980, after leaving the major leagues, he signed with the Yomiuri Giants in Japan and played with Sadaharu Oh during his last season in Japan. Oh hit well over 800 home runs in his career in Japan, I believe. And as mentioned, he played with Mickey Mantle and now the great Sadaharu Oh late in his career. He was a coach for the Yankees at various times after he retired, and he also established the Roy White Foundation, a charity aiming to help children and young adults in the New York City area who want to attend college but can't afford to. So that is Mr. Roy White. Next up is going to be a player with the same initials. Roy White is RW. This player is Mr. Ron Woods with a second horizontal pose there. Ron Woods played outfield for the Yankees. He played from 1969 to 1974. Played with 3 teams in those 6 years and about 2.5 with the Yankees. Not an everyday player. He ended his career with a 233 batting average, 26 home runs, and 130 RBI. Ron Woods and Roy White both went to a high school in Compton, California, but it was different during the same general time frame. He also played like White did. He played in Japan after leaving the majors too in the 1970s. So that is Mr. Roy White. I'll put these here just for a second. I can see them both. The horizontal view of the cards there, I think, are pretty cool. Lots of folks in the background. You got the catcher, the umpire. Very, very cool. So Roy White and Ron Woods. The last player 10 out of 10 is Mr. Danny Cater, listed as a first baseman slash outfielder for the Yankees. He signed with the Phillies at 18 in 1958, and he played from 64 to 1975 and played with 6 different teams by my count, and just 2 with the Yankees. He had 7 straight years of 100 plus hits as well. In 1968, he finished second in batting average in the American League with a batting average of 290. In 1968, he finished second to, of course, Carl Yastrzemski, who went on to win the Triple Crown that year for the American League. He also led the American League first baseman with a 995 fielding percentage in 1968. His highest hit and batting average year came once again in 1970, the year on the back of this card, where he had 175 hits and a 301 average. Over his 12-year career, he had a 276 batting average, over 1,200 hits, and 519 RBI. Not a big home run hitter, he only had 66 during his entire career. After retiring, Danny Cater went to work with the Texas Comptroller as an accounts examiner, and as an accountant myself, I was familiar with who that was, that entity in Texas for sure. Thought that was worth noting as well. Like I said, among others in this series so far, 1970 was a pretty darn good year for him. You can see his home runs, his hits, his average at 301. Sorry, the light's not that good, but he did have 175 hits in 1970. So there is Mr. Danny Cater. So that's it. That is my 5 and 5, 5 Yankees, 5 Mets for 1971 tops. Thanks for sticking with me during this little bit longer video, but had 10 cards versus, 5 or so the last time. Again, have a great July 4th, great July 4th weekend. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing and giving me any comments, likes, or anything you see about these players. If you remember them, you know about any statistic I didn't mention, a unique game they had, a unique thing they were known for, please leave it in the comments. Would love to know more about that and continue learning myself about these as I go through the 71 tops action poses. So with that in mind, thank you all. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.